This podcast is sponsored by Terraform Development is an engineering and architectural design studio company located in Flagstaff, Arizona. Co-owner and founder Eddie Kalnimtua supports the Hopi way of life and supports the next generation, including hiring Hopi professionals, individuals like Dr. Brianne Laban from the village of Tewa. Contact Terraform at 928-864-5022 extension 1, or you can email them at info@terra4orm.com or visit their website at www.terra4orm.com to learn more about Terraform Development. They can design your next home, manage your next construction project, or fly their latest drone equipment to get aerial views of your project.
Also sponsored by
Strong Ones. Strong Ones is dedicated to exposing cultural traditions of running that exist within many cultures and tribes worldwide through running apparel. Strong Ones is an individually owned business supporting cultural running traditions and supporting local organizations within the Hopi Reservation. They can be found at strongones.myshopify.com. Again, that's strongones.myshopify.com. They are also on Facebook at Strong Ones 15. You are now listening to the Carl and J-Man Saves the World podcast. I am your host, the 5-star, 5-diamond chef, J-Man. And with me, as always, my trusty sidekick, Carl.
Hey, what's going on, guys? So we made it to, this is the 5th episode, right?
Yeah, we're midway through
to season 3, actually. We're midway through to season 3.
No, we're in season 2.
I know, we're still in season 2, but we're midway through to season 3. Kind of get it?
No. And so it's kind of remarkable that, we did make it this far because, Carl offended a lot of coyote ladies. And the fact that he's still walking, I think,
Oh man, don't remind me of that. My sister, if she's probably going to listen to this episode again, and she has her begang already, and she's probably going to cut off my tail or something in that manner. So, Courtney, I'm not sorry.
I was going to say you're probably a good hider because I know that you're not a good runner. So that's the only thing I can think of.
I've been doing a lot of stretching. So this episode here, talking about urbans versus natives. There was a lot of
urbans versus natives, or
what is it? Urbans versus
REZ natives.
REZ natives. And in one of your posts, you did on Facebook a while back. Man, that was so controversial.
Yeah, it was. And, we'd like to thank all the listeners out there for indulging us with these last 2 episodes talking about movies and music. And, now to get onto something, I guess, a little bit more serious, a little bit more, something that's kind of, a real broad topic amongst Native folks. Because then, if you do think about it, all Native people, you do fall into one or two categories of either being a REZ native or being an urban native.
Yeah.
And so I really don't think that there's any type of in between that I can think of. And so I think that the idea for the topic of today really did come from that Facebook post that I made in season 1. We talked a little bit about it. And if you don't follow me on Facebook, basically, kind of what I said was that I felt like a lot of urban natives, when speaking on issues related to natives in general, that they kind of speak from a context that's developed more from like a minority studies type of perspective.
Yeah.
Which is developed usually, from the most dominant minority groups, African Americans, Latino Americans, and not necessarily really from a native perspective per se, because, even though, we're all technically people of color, that there are differences.
There are
folks, African American folks, and Latino folks.
Yeah, they are. It's a huge mixture of every type of living culture out here, and it's very unique that every culture has their own type of doings or their own types of cultures or their own types of traditions. And Hopi is not, it's not where we're put into a category. We're a unique perspective view, kind of like.
Definitely. And I think that at least for the native perspective, I know that the big difference is the fact that our ties to the land.
Oh, yeah.
That, we do claim that, we've been here in time immemorial.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to, like the African folks, obviously, come from Africa, and then the Latino Americans have their heritage origins from different parts of the world. And, I think the fact that we do come from these lands really does mold, how we perceive our presence within the United States or our presence within, contemporary societies. And so, that Facebook post, and I really didn't mean to necessarily draw the lines and say that, we're going to start a war, the REZ natives versus the urban natives. That was not my intent. I think it was just, one of those frustrating things where, because of social media.
Oh, yeah.
That you see how people kind of share their perspectives of everybody on a larger platform. And so I think that's really where that stemmed from, because, and something that we'll talk about later on in the podcast, because I definitely do believe that, unification is a much more better avenue for us to pursue. But, that's kind of a little bit about what my Facebook post was. But, we didn't mention it yet either. But today's another special episode.
Oh, yeah.
That we have a special guest
today.
We
do have a special guest, and she reigns from all the way from Arizona.
Songopavi, Arizona.
Songopavi, Arizona.
So when we get to her, we'll allow her to introduce herself, but she'll definitely give the perspective that neither you or I could give in terms of, growing up off the reservation, growing up in the urban areas, because we did have that urban experience episode.
Yeah.
But I think that the part that was missing from that was us discussing, experiences growing up as a native person off the reservation.
See, we can say that we grew up in Tuba City, but I don't think Tuba City is like a...
I told Carl that didn't count as an urban area.
I think that's an urban area. It has a Bashes. It used to... I think it still has the movie theater.
It's got a movie theater.
Yeah, it's where I took my first date over there.
I'd ask you if that ended well, but I feel like I know the answer already.
It did end well because Soul picked us both up and drove us back home. So,
and so really that Facebook post was kind of the genesis of the idea for this episode.
Yeah.
And I think that, one of the things that we're going to do is just talk about, these different dynamics of what's the perspective of the REZ native. And then Kyla will give us the perspective of the urban natives, and then kind of, see where the median is for the happy in between, so to speak. And so I guess, to start the conversation, what are some dynamics that make this big difference between urban natives and REZ natives? What are the big differences between the two groups?
I would have to say the clothing part of it.
The clothing part of it?
The clothing part is the huge difference between urban natives and REZ natives.
Because urban native men wear clothes and REZ native men don't?
Urban natives wear clothes that aren't holy. Or have Clorox stains on them.
More than likely, they're clothing articles they didn't buy at the swap meet.
Their shoes actually have, they're actually clean. Their white shoes aren't brown.
Or clothes that they didn't buy at the yard sale.
So I think that's the biggest difference. If you see a Native American walking around and he has nice shoes and he has a nice button-up shirt, he's from the urban area.
The shoes, I think, really does tell a tale.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of, I guess, knowing where somebody has walked. Because then the urban natives, they like you're saying, and which is very true, that they have very nice shoes.
Yeah.
More than likely, there's some sort of designer brand, designer wear. Because I try my hand at being a little bit queevy, so I try to rock the Sperry's or the Aldos.
Yeah.
Those types of brands. But then for I guess a real true native person, you know what I mean? Like the shoes, sometimes you can't even make out what the logo is on the shoe because it's so worn out.
Yeah, and pretty much it's just swap meet buy kind of stuff. So Oh, and the way that you can tell an urban from a res is that an urban will come home only to eat a mutton burger,
a mutton sandwich.
A mutton sandwich. Yep.
Gotta get home to get my mutton fix.
They're always on Facebook saying, I gotta get my fix at Swamp Meat or whatnot. And no other res people will say I gotta get my fix because they're always over there every day. So
And then I think that the other distinctive characteristic traits is the way we speak.
Oh yeah,
right. The way we speak.
Yeah,
because I think that our urban relatives definitely speak a little bit more proper.
Yeah,
have a little bit more bahana in their slang.
Yeah,
and then for us res natives, we're all slang.
Yeah, we're all slang.
Although I am constantly told that I do speak like a urban. So.
I don't know how I speak. I think I speak with a little bit mixture of black woman mixed in there kind of deal.
Sometimes I can't even figure it out what it is that your speech does sound like.
Well, my speech is probably the most. I think women love my voice. Women love my voice.
I think they love to laugh at it.
No, women love my voice.
What are some other distinct differences that you can think of?
Well, besides the clothing and besides the talking part of it, I think it's like more social media. If you look at it, all of these urban Indians, they post more pictures of themselves, like more selfies, looking good, looking nice.
Especially when they come home to the res.
Yeah, especially when they come home to the res and they have that hashtag feeling native or whatever.
For the Hopis, I think it's that hashtag Hopi life.
Or Hopi life. There you go. Yeah.
They got the women, they have their nails done really nice as they're making their baked goods in the kitchen.
Oh, that's another thing too. Is that urban native women only know how to make pies and shortbreads or whatever they're called, like banana breads. That's all they know how to make. And then their so'os and their other aunties know how to make nokuvi and somiviki and...
I appreciate those pastries when they do pop up here and there for during our dances.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. My sister doesn't bake though. I'm throwing her under the bus every time.
You know what? That's something that both you and I have in common because none of my sisters know how to bake either.
Really?
Yeah.
No, because when I was over there, they're always baking for me. So I don't know what you're doing.
Well, that explains why you don't have any teeth. So. Well, one thing that I do think of too that's also real distinctively different is that for our urban relatives, I feel like that sometimes, you kind of have more time to do other things aside from, some of the stuff that we're kind of handcuffed to do and related to culture. Because I have a couple of buddies that do live in Phoenix and, sometimes you have those conversations, those messages that you kind of relay back to each other back and forth. And so, what are you going to do for the weekend, And then so my urban buddies to be like, I'd probably go for a 20-mile run or, maybe go hit up the what do they call it? The where they have fresh vegetables and stuff like that. The food,
farmer's market.
Farmer's market. Probably hit up the farmer's market or, maybe go to like got a birthday party to go to or something in regards to the wedding. Like they actually have plans for the weekend. And then they ask me, what are you going to do? Probably go to the cornfield. Probably be there all day.
I'll probably be at the field, and I'll probably be.
That's pretty much it.
And it's usually maybe I'll go to town one weekend. You'll say that. I'll go to town, and they're like, "Town? Where's town?"
Flagstaff.
And it's like, oh yeah, just to pick up supplies. That's probably it.
They always ask you, what for?
Yeah,
to go grocery shopping.
To go grocery shopping. Yeah, and that's pretty much how res natives are. Is they all they do is just go to town to go get supplies. That's pretty much it.
And so I think that because there are differences, these significant differences, do you think that creates some animosity between the two groups, the res and the urbans?
My sister, I'm going to just throw her under the bus again. I'm just going to keep throwing her under the bus.
Courtney, I am not associated with this. I swear to God.
So my sister, she moved away from the res when she was in her early 20s, I believe.
Okay.
And so she all she knows is like, oh, I want to move out there for a better job, and the whole REZ kind of spiel, I gotta get a good job because I gotta provide for myself, the whole thing like that. But she never came home after that. She just became a Mexican. So Trump is probably gonna deport her first. So
Carl's perspectives are not shared by other members of the Carl and J-Man Save the World podcast.
But when she does come home, and I'm sorry, Courtney, but when she does come home, she wants to know how to do all of the native stuff. So she'll ask, so like, how do you make bread, Soul? And I'm like, God damn it, Courtney, you don't even know how to make bread. And she's like, no. Like, Martha Stewart probably knows how to make bread.
Courtney, please. These are Carl's perspectives and not mine.
But anyway, I mean, I don't know if there's any animosity between. Well, okay, brother and sister, yes, okay, but other than that, I don't have any other perspective view against that. So.
Well, I think that probably the most obvious ones are that, like that, the fact that, sometimes the REZ people, the REZ relatives complain a little bit that the urban relatives don't come home enough to learn some of these duties that are required by families to be able to function during, whether that's during ceremony time or during other times of the year. And then, but of course, if you're somebody, and both you and I were in those shoes to where we decided that we wanted to leave the reservation to pursue opportunity, which we did. And I think that that's probably a huge reason as to why a lot of people do leave the REZ, is to pursue opportunities, whether that's for themselves or for their kids, that they go and, try to create a better position for themselves. And I think that, a lot of our relatives that do live in the urban areas were very successful at doing that.
They are successful.
This paid sponsorship was paid for by Justin Villarreal. Nurturing Indigenous Intelligence is a grassroots organization whose mission is to assist our Indigenous students in their pursuit of education. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up with upcoming distributions.
And I mean, every one of them has pursued their own heritage, and they're marketing off of that. I think they're capitalizing off of their own culture or their own traditions. And is it wrong to do it? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Is it wrong? I would say no.
Yeah,
I would say no.
I mean, take for like some of the artists that are out there who grew up in the cities, in the urban area. And they're very close tied to like their own traditions, but then they market themselves off to say that, I'm going to create something like skateboards or like pottery or and they're market, and they only come to the REZ because they want to get a little bit influenced or they want to feel spiritual in a way.
Or sometimes maybe they take influences outside of Hopi that they see in the urban areas and then start to incorporate that with traditional symbols and such. So. But I guess, now's a good time to bring in our special guest.
Oh, yeah. Let's go ahead and bring her on. So,
Kyla, are you there?
Hey, I'm here.
So if you want to give your introduction, but like we said the last time that we had special guests, Carl is not Carl's real name. It's his anonymity. Anonymity, did I say that correctly?
My name is DeAndre, so... I'm actually 7'5" black guy, so.
All right. Well, if that's your description, then you guys can call me KJ. I don't really like Kyla. Everyone always says Kayla. I don't know where they get the extra A. So
yeah, Carl called you.
So I
actually called you Kayla last night when J-Man here was texting me about the guest, and I was like, Kayla.
Shake my head. That is not me. That's not the name my mom gave me.
Oh, get it right, Carl.
So we blame your mom.
So if Courtney doesn't get to you first, Carl, Kyla will.
Probably.
So Kyla, so to I give KJ to give the urban perspective. One question to ask you, and this is something that we've never discussed on this podcast because neither Carl or I have had this experience. But can you give us maybe your descriptions of growing up in the urban areas as a Native person, and maybe give what are some distinct differences that are specific to Native folks growing up in the urban areas?
I think one thing you guys did talk about, growing up, I feel like I always envied everyone who lives on the res because they get to see day in, day out what's happening. They get to see their souls and quads. And for me, growing up in the city, being in class, you find yourself wondering, like, well, I wonder what they're doing. Or I wonder if we're going home this weekend. And that's the hardest thing about, growing up the way I did, because I have to rely on someone else to take me out. I have to rely on my mom or my parents and think about, their financial situation to see if we're even able to make it out home. But now that I got older, that's my own responsibility. But, being in the city and not having everyone know who you are, I guess, is what it came down to. And when people walk into, I would invite bros over and my friends from school, and they walk in and all you see is all the kitchen, I'm all over, and they're like, whoa, what? Hold on, what is going on? I didn't know your house looked like this. And then it was just like constantly explaining myself to everybody. And it's not a bad thing because I was proud of it. And people were like, oh, are you Mexican or you Navajo? And I would take so much offense to it. So much offense. I'd be like, no, I'm Hopi. And they'd be like, oh, where's that? I'm like, that's in northern Arizona. And I'd pull up my phone and show them where it was at because, that's a part of your identity. And I think with my mom, it was I'm grateful for my mom. I'm so grateful for her because that's something she instilled in me. She always told me, you're Hopi. You're Hopi. You shouldn't be doing this. You're not Bahana. This is why you can't go out and wear that, or this is why you can't say these things, or you can't. And so it was constantly, like I said, checking yourself, checking where you're at and checking who you are. And then explaining to the teachers why I had to miss school on a Monday because we just drove back that same night and we got home maybe at 3 o'clock in the morning. And my mom said, it's a day off for everybody. So explaining to the teacher, and it's weird. I hate saying ceremony, but that's the term they use. It's like, oh, I was at ceremony. And I know this has come in conflict with my own siblings. She had to go through something else for herself. And one of the teachers made a comment to her about like, oh, you're always missing school because of this. Or you're always doing, or I'm not going to let you make up the test because you're always missing school and she did like air quote ceremony. And my younger sister, not being as outspoken as myself, just sat there and cried. And she's like, I don't understand why they don't understand. I don't understand like what more I can say or what more I can do to make them believe me. And at that point, just being me, I called the school. I made a whole complaint. I went on a whole rant on social media. And that's something that's funny to me. We guys had mentioned it earlier about social media. I'm quick to rant on social media. I don't care if you don't like it or if you like it. You can unfriend me. You can type in the conversation. But, this is just, I feel like that's one thing that's really distinguishing from res natives and urban natives or city natives is I feel like I'm constantly having to defend myself to my own people.
So I didn't know that urban natives still uses bro. Like you said.
Bro, see, that's what I mean. I'm not. You guys are talking about urban natives, but it's like I have those. I have scouts who talk to me and say bro, or like, why are you talking like that? You talk like you. So I'm like a mixture of both. I get to see the best of both worlds.
KJ, is it safe to say that there's no knees or nas or eyes in the urban areas? Like, what's the urban slang?
Yeah, what's the urban for? Like, oh, I got you, girl. Like, you know, the click, like, you know, that thing. You know, I got you, girl. What's the REZ? What's the urban slang for that? Is it just that?
It's just that I got you.
So would you say that I guess obviously being in an urban area and that's where you're at currently, right? You're in the Phoenix metropolitan area, being in such a large city with a lot of other native tribes. Do you find yourself in a position to where you kind of like are intersecting with other tribes and their slang or some of their practices?
Oh yeah. Like so I'm currently at ASU, and there's a lot of awesome people there, and I met all of them, and they have their own slang. And like Wallapai, I caught on like like if I see something and I see someone, let's see, if I see a lady and she has like the biggest eyelashes on and she has like her whole like everything out, I'm gonna sit there and say Jehovah. It's like, what? Like, what are they doing? Like, Jehovah, calm down. So yeah, definitely. And my mom teases me and my siblings because as soon as we moved like near that res, that's something we picked up the slang really quick.
Wow.
Really quick.
Wow.
So that's something I'll say. Like, Jehovah.
And so what's solve? You're going to solve this controversy. What's the biggest difference between a REZ Piccadilly and a Pickle Slushie?
All right, here we go. I was born for this conversation. Okay, so thank you. So a REZ Piccadilly is just no cone syrup. It's no cone syrup plus the pickles, but they just use any pickle. I be watching. I'm observant. I watch them, and they'll use regular pickles. But pickle slushy people. Creator sent them down there. They sent them down for a reason. These people make their own syrup, and they use a specific pickle. It's the pickle jar that has a red lid. That's the pickles they use.
So not the K-Town pickles.
Not the K-Town pickles. They use the other ones. The ones you probably find. Let's see, at Kings Canyon. They used to, and Kings Canyon. I seen them. I seen those pickles they use.
So just the generic dill pickles.
Yeah, I think that's and the syrup.
Oh, the syrup.
No kidding. So there's actually an art that goes into the pickle slushies.
I had no idea about that either. I don't even eat those, but I guess there's a war between that.
And so a question, if I can be serious for a minute, with you being in Phoenix, in order to prepare to come home for ceremony preparation, etc., during the hottest times of the summer, to get your own kwasi hands, do you firmly plant your hands on the burning sidewalk to get ready for the Piki stone?
You don't even have to be on the sidewalk. You can just get in your car and touch the steering wheel and just hold it for 30 seconds, and then you can let go and start touching everything else. Because like everything, you can touch the your dashboard. Actually, if that's what you really want to do, that's hot.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and take a break here just for a moment to listen to our sponsored ad for this section of the podcast here.
Last Minute Screen Printing will handle all your t-shirt printing needs. A local business based in Tuba City has serviced customers throughout the Hopi and Navajo reservation. Find them on Facebook and give them a like. To contact, call 602-526-7659. Or you can send them an email to brianosif@gmail.com. Last Minute Screen Printing for all your last minute t-shirt printing needs.
All right, and we're back here. So we were talking about REZ pickles, and urban pickles, or was it urban slushies or urban REZ slushies?
Pickle Slushies.
Pickle Slushies.
And Piccadillies.
Another
big difference between the two groups. And so I guess moving the conversation forward, I guess, KJ, if you want to tell us being away from the reservation and wanting to be a part of our culture, wanting to be a part of the ceremonies, have you ever felt difficulties being accepted by folks that live here on the reservation? If you can tell some experiences in that regard.
Yeah, it's funny because people say like, "Oh, I don't treat you anyway," or "You just have to learn for yourself." But when I'm the one making the initiative to bring up like, "Oh, I don't know what you just said." If she said, "If my soul or not my soul," like say we were to go Northway, and someone had said, and I overheard someone having a conversation. And I heard a word I didn't know. And I'm like, "Oh, can you say that again? Or can you tell me what that means?" And they look at me sideways and it's like, and if it's a moment of judgment, I know it because it's like, you should know this and you're how old and you're asking me this. But people, yeah, they'll judge you for not knowing and then judge you again for asking and wanting to know. So it's always an uncomfortable situation. So if you're like my younger sisters, they're not going to be the one to make that initiative because they know people are already judging them. But for me, I don't care. I'm at the age where I just don't care. I'm going to ask. And if you're not going to tell me, I'm going to ask the next person. And if they're not going to tell me, then maybe I just wasn't meant to know. And I'm going to leave it at that. I just have to, you have to find peace in knowing. You have to find peace of knowing you're going to be uncomfortable in these situations, but it's up to you. If you really want to learn, if you really want to be a part of your culture, your language, you're gonna find every and any way to get that knowledge.
Yeah,
for sure.
And
I look at Carl like that all the time. Judging him for not knowing some of the things that he should know.
And my sister, when she comes home, we're just gonna give her a clap because she's been a good sport so far.
We're gonna die.
No, but anyway, my sister doesn't know how to speak Hopi as well, so we speak Spanish to her. So we're like, "¿Por qué, Cortina? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué eres delicioso?" And she's like, "Sí, papi. Sí, papi." So Courtney, she knows how to speak Mexican. She's like, "No tortito, no sopa, no sopa." It's like sopra.
Well, I really had fun doing this podcast.
Courtney's probably gonna murder me one of these days, and I'm pretty sure this is gonna be my last episode.
And I'm pretty sure she's gonna see me as guilty by affiliation. So
let's give a hand to Courtney for being a good sport.
You're a good sport.
Yeah, sorry, Courtney.
But a question for Carl. We've talked about it before between you and I in terms of our residency, the length of it being away from home. Did you ever experience that? Any issues of feeling accepted back home?
Like when I went to school, I did tell my family members that I'm going to school for quite some time, and it's when I came back home, I did feel accepted because they thought that I was going to school for something that could actually help the Hopi people here. But when I came back home and tried to help, nobody wanted help.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, it's like, I'm trying to help you guys.
You know what? I at least in terms of my experience, I never felt that when I was away from home that I ever felt excluded.
Yeah.
But then it wasn't until I moved back full time, I think that, it's one of those things where it's like, you first get home and everyone's happy. Oh, you're back home. Yeah, you're here. But then after a while, the dust settles. And then, you start to try to integrate into whether that's the Kiva societies.
Yeah.
or in different areas with your families. And then that's kind of where it gets to that point where it's like, hey, man, you just got here. Why don't you sit down and listen for a bit before and get settled in. But moving on to a little bit more in terms of the res and the urban perspective. And so, the perspectives, definitely we shared a little bit about that at the beginning of the episode in terms of, what our perspectives of urban natives are. But what else are some other perspectives do you think that some of our res folk have for our city relatives?
I mean, the way that we do traditionally and the way that we speak is one thing. And when we do go to like town or like Flagstaff or Phoenix areas, we kind of feel like excluded, or we kind of feel like we're not into all of fitting into the culture that's there.
In the cities.
In the cities, yeah. Like, when I go to Flagstaff,
you feel like you're standing out.
Yeah. When you go to Flagstaff, I mean, just for groceries and stuff, of course you see all the natives, but you want to feel like included, but you're like, I'm native, it's okay that I'm buying like 3 gallons worth of Crisco, and Bahanas are looking at me like, what do you need 3 gallons worth of Crisco for?
What kind of bombs are you building?
And it's weird to say that, and it's because we as natives here have a different mindset of like what the whole, I guess, mainstream society is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think that's a really good point, especially now with all the craziness that's going on with the pandemic. I think that when you do go to town or places like Phoenix, you make it a point to omit the fact that you're coming from the reservation.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you don't want to be from the reservation. You don't want to be seen as from like the res. So like when I have like a lot of Bahana friends, and I worked with them for quite some time, and then when I see them again, I want to be not Hopi. I want to be just like you.
You want it to be like Courtney. And,
I want to be like Courtney.
And
¿Por qué Maria? ¿Por qué Maria? But no, I want to be included with all the reindeer games, kind of like.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And when you're doing that, when you're at off the reservation, you kind of feel that way.
So would you say that the fact that you don't feel like you're included or that you're not a part of the culture out there?
Yeah.
Is it because you feel less than?
Yeah, it's like, you have the latest iPhone. Yeah, I still have my iPhone 3 or something.
I still have my flip phone.
My flip phone from 1997. And it works good, but then you're excluded because it's all mainstream.
It works well, but the 9 button doesn't work anymore. So
I hit that 9 button like crazy out here.
The Indige Design Collab are Indigenous designers collaborating to bring creative people and ideas closer together through education, communication, and creative expression. They explore, cultivate, and indigenize space. Indige Design Collab is having a call for entry starting September 1st for digital artwork for their second annual design show. The theme is Rise to Vote. For more information, they can be found on Facebook or Instagram. And, I think that that's pretty much a pretty universal perspective for most res folks, especially if you're somebody that's probably lived the majority of your life on the reservation, that you see our urban relatives, our counterparts, as maybe being more educated, being more sophisticated, being more integrated with Bahana culture, with Bahan society. And so that kind of creates that feeling of being less than. And then maybe in turn, that's kind of where some of that negativity derives from for when those our urban relatives do come back. And, you kind of look at them with judgment. Oh, they don't know these Hopi things the way that we do. And, that definitely could be an origin for that. So KJ, and without holding back, if you can, what do you, from your perspective, what do the urban natives think about us res folks?
Can you state that in another way? So what do urban people think about res natives?
Mm-hmm. Or like what's the stereotype?
Yeah, what are the stereotypes? What do you think of when you
do
come
you think
home?
of us like we're missing teeth and
that we smell? We only take showers once a week.
Which actually is a reality now.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think one thing is I know everybody's going to either be almost on E in their vehicle. The car can be dirty regardless, and there's going to be a bunch of dents, and the fender in the front, or the fender's going to be really messed up. And someone's always going to be asking for money to get their choice of poison. There's going to be trash. I don't care what nobody says. Everyone's village is very messy. We all need to have collaboratively go out there and clean up because it's embarrassing to bring people like there's trash everywhere, and nobody can say they have everything. They're doing something, but
we don't see that.
What else?
We're blind to it.
We're blind to it. Yeah. And how dare you say that we ask for money? I only ask for money on Tuesdays because I'm poor.
KJ, you have to understand that trash is a part of our lawn decorations.
And those trash, that my fender is not that dented, okay? I didn't hit that dog. That dog hit me. I'm just kidding.
That's all I got. Like, I'm not trying to go too deep. I'm not trying to have no one come for me. But other than that, that's pretty much it.
That's where the power of the fake names come in, and that's why I'm J-Man and Carl's C-Man.
But yeah, I think that's. Oh, you always see a hitchhiker too.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
Yep. And people will slow down to look at them. Oh, who is that? And that's what I'm looking at. Oh, that's so and so. They're drinking again. Yeah. And then drive by.
I'm like, pick them up.
Slow down and make them think.
Yep, I do the same thing too. I'm not urban, but I was like, ooh, look at that guy. I'm not gonna pick him up. He looks smelly.
No, that's not me. I stopped. See, and that's why I got in trouble. That's why. And they're like, you stop picking up them. You're just helping them get to the drug dealer's house. Oh, I didn't know that. I thought he was walking that way. I thought he just needed a ride.
They said they were going to the store.
He told me he was gonna get a slushie. So outside of Pickle M, I don't know what else.
I was dropping him off at the Piccadilly spot.
Well, I think you are right with all of your perspective views on what we are, and I think that is more or less like the stereotypical part of it. Like, you know, we do have trash in our yards, and we do have dented fenders, and we do
several vehicles.
Several vehicles. Actually, I am part of the several vehicle club. You know,
we're all trying to open up our own.
Okay,
garages.
Let's stop. I shouldn't be saying nothing about vehicles because right now I'm carless. So shout out to you guys. You guys at least you still have your cars.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we still have our cars that don't run anymore. So we just sit in them, just pretend.
It's for decoration.
We just
like
use them
you said, the trash too is for decoration.
Exactly.
And so, you know, I think that, you know, but one of the things that, you know, doesn't always come up because unfortunately, you know, I think that's a dynamic for most Native folks is that, you know, we tend to fixate on the negatives mostly, but in terms of like the positives, because there are positives, you know, in terms of how we do perceive our urban relatives and what it is that they're doing in the cities. Because, you know, for like yourself, for example, you know, you're working towards a college education, and myself and Carl were both in those positions at one point. And then so you do hear, you know, those praises of people that are doing things like yourself and others, you know, maybe who are have a career in some field in the urban areas. And you'll hear, you know, like the So'os or the Kwa'as in the villages talking about certain people that, you know, they're doing this for themselves.
Yeah.
And so I think that, you know, there are those positives. And then on the opposite side for the urban natives, you know, thank God that, you know, the people back home are still keeping our culture alive, that they're still continuing to keep that foot forward so that the children of today and tomorrow can have this in the future. So moving on to, so KJ, what are some ways that you think that urban natives and REZ natives can work together to produce a brighter future for all us people, whether we're on the REZ or elsewhere?
Danae Mahapi Arts is a modern art made with traditional values. Danae is involving artists who is innovative through her artwork, while incorporating contemporary modern trends and bright colors being the base of her work. Hopi traditional elements is her main focus, giving her artwork an intricate finish.
Though she's living in today's modern society, she paints meaning and value of traditional designs to showcase and symbolizes her upbringing out on Hopi. She specializes in customized painted earrings to her colorful bright canvas paintings and much more. Danae can be found on Instagram at D Mahapi Arts, where you can find and support her one-of-a-kind art pieces.
Let's go. I like this question. So, first of all, I think everybody should go to ASU because if we want to be innovative, ASU is number one in innovation. Works up. I think it's important. There's a lot of misunderstanding that goes around because I feel like people REZ people think that urban people just want to go to school and then come back home and think they're like hot stuff, hot everything and take over. I think that's what
that's
the
how I
perspective
felt
is.
when I first came.
Actually, I still do that to this day, so I think I'm hot stuff out here. I don't know who you're talking about, but
I just want to throw that out there. Like for me as a urban female, Hopi woman, whatever, I don't feel like I'm bigger than anybody else. What I want in KJ's world, if everything was bright and happy, what I want to do is learn everything I can while being in the city. Because in the back of my head, I'm always thinking like, oh, this would work at this village, or this would work with these kids, or that's how my mind has always been working. So collaboratively, I feel like everybody needs to find their passion, what you're good at, stay in your lane, what you're good at. Don't be trying to compete with the next person, and then talk. I feel like there's communicate about what needs to happen. And my thing is about policy. I like law. So I'm always at the tribe. I'll go to the tribe and be like, oh, what kind of jobs do you guys have posted? What kind of things do you guys need? Or what field of study is really hard and people don't really want to do? That's the work I'll pick up. I feel like there's a lot of misunderstanding that goes around about what city people want to do or how they see themselves. Because if anything, I envy everybody who's out home, because just like how you said, those people are the ones I wholeheartedly believe are the ones who are helping us keep the world going round. Because without them, I don't know where we would be ever. But I think it's just a lot of conversation that needs to happen. It's conversation that people get uncomfortable around and aren't ready to like fully accept that we need each other. We need each other, and if we're not willing to work, we're just going to be stuck in the same spot and just going to be sitting right here back on this podcast talking smack about each other. And that's all I got to say.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for bringing light into that.
Yeah, that's a great point, because like you're right, there isn't much conversation that, because I think a lot of it is because we hardly see each other. And so that when we do see our urban relatives, that the conversations are kind of the lighthearted stuff.
Yeah.
How have you been?
Like, trying to tiptoe against each other. Yeah.
Still trying to climb on the ladders, that type of conversation. And it's
Dude,
not.
What do you guys do? I'm sorry.
And
what do you guys be doing at dinner tables? Because we have these hard conversations at my soul's house with everybody there. Well, yeah, when I'm telling you, my soul is very, very on it. She'll sit there and like look at everybody. She'll look you up and down, judge you. Then she'll let it out like, you're doing this wrong. You should be doing this. Why are you saying this? Why are you acting like this? And she'll really put everybody back in check. Like, you said you wanted to come home and help. So what are you doing? How are you going to help? And she's just, that's where I think everybody needs some food.
Some
and
honesty.
That's what I love.
Yeah, some honesty and love and stuff like that.
And that's where Carla and I come in, because we feel like that we've been...
We're very competitive. We compete against each other, but at the end, we're always doing something for the good for the people and making people laugh. So with our podcast,
and so we're just about there. So we have, I think, time for one more question, KJ. And so real quick, if you can. With your experience that you have had in the places that you've been, have you seen some collaborative efforts between REZ folk and urban folk that have been worked out pretty well? And you could share some of that.
There's, I think, one person or one organization that's really caught my eye is the Not One Week Coalition. I think that's what they're called. And they've been working collaboratively with all types of people. They're networking like crazy. And I've been watching them, and they've been making silent moves. So anybody who listens to this podcast, go give them a follow, because they're doing good things. They have this grant that just came out, and I know that what else has happened? The virtual runs. I know a lot of city natives have been really eating that up. The virtual runs. Not shout out to the pandemic, but shout out to the pandemic a little bit, because that's really helped us. Like, not. It's kind of like you're there, but you're not there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Who else? And the Heath has been collaboratively reaching out to our Hopi students and putting them in contact with like whoever they need, whatever they need, whenever they need it, and they just need to know. You should just speak up for yourself. Closed mouths don't get fed.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, who else? Who can I think of?
The Heath's a pretty cool place. I wonder if they're hiring. I should try to get a job there.
They only hire the pretty people over there. Well, thank you. Thank you again for this opportunity that you took set aside for us.
Yes. Thank you so much. Kwa.
Yeah, and thank you, and good luck in all of your endeavors that you're going to be holding, or your future endeavors. And ASU, I don't know about that school. I didn't even know that was even a school. Yeah,
it's the best school in the world.
I didn't even know that was a school. My school was probably the best school. So
I don't know, man.
ASU is number one in innovation.
All right, well,
that's all you need to know, Carl.
Well, thank you again. Thank you for our special guest to bring light into the urbans and
before we conclude, we like to again send an appreciation to all of you out there that listen to our podcast. And if you'd like to continue supporting us, you can do that at our website at anchor.fm/CJ Podcast 85. And if you have any other businesses out there that want to sponsor us, because we do appreciate our sponsors out there: Terraform, Strong Ones, 4X Studios, Danae Hopi Arts, and Last Minute Screen Printing.
Also, we do have T-shirts available for sale on Shopify.com, I believe. Was it Shopify.com? Or so go to our Facebook page and go. There are links to there. And if you're on YouTube watching this, click the link below to subscribe and, subscribe to our podcast. Click the bell icon to get further notifications. And we are doing all of that. But please buy our shirts. We are poor.
Yes.
All right. Well,
and, shout out to Justin Villarreal, and thank you again.
All right. So my name is Carl, and this is J-Man. Thank you for listening to our podcast.